Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Creighton Show. Another exciting show, definitely another exciting guest. So I'm gonna tell you where we're about to go today. I'm blown away, first of all, and totally culture shocked to say the least. But like I said, you never know who's gonna walk through that door. You never know what kind of guests we're gonna have on the show. But I guarantee you this: it's always gonna be that beast mindset. It's gonna be educational, informative, and it's going to enlighten you. It's going to be a resource to make you think, research, and go, I didn't know that. Now, let me tell you about what's about to happen. We definitely going to go down the rabbit hole. I'm gonna do my Morpheus thing. Andre, which pill do you want to take? The blue or the red? I'm gonna take the blue pill because I'm gonna go down this rabbit hole. I'm telling you about this rabbit hole is about to go. This beautiful young lady is deep into music. She's going to classify what kind of music that is, deep into cultural heritage. And when I say deep into cultural heritage, not just any cultural heritage, let's talk about Native American and Black. And this is funny how the universe works because I asked her if she knew this guy, and I'm going to pull his name up right now. His name is Walter Plecker. Remember that name, Walter Plecker. So I'm going to resurface with that. Now, you might find this kind of interesting because naturally she's Caucasian, but she's deep into cultural history. And when I pre-interviewed her, I was kind of blown away. Like, naturally, me being a man of color, first thing I say is I'm looking at her and going, what the fuck are you trying to get all deep into our culture for? But without further ado, let's welcome the one, the only, the beautiful Miss Robin Williams. Robin, what's up?
Well, here's the deal. So I actually am Native American. Which
Really?
Yeah. So the Miami Indians out of Howard County.
Where's Howard County, Indiana?
Yeah, Howard County is just north of here.
What's it called outside of Howard County? I don't know nothing about counties. Is it Terre Haute? That's Wabash.
Kokomo, Greentown, Logansport, that whole area is deep Miami Indian country.
Wow.
So my great-grandfather, DeMott, he was French and Indian. So I have Native American roots. DeMott. That's French. Well, they were French, you know?
Yeah.
There was a lot of French mixture going on there, the French traders and all that kind of thing. So.
Okay, before we.
But I just want to be clear.
Yeah.
That it's not just a passing interest of mine.
It's culture.
It's something that's deeply embedded in me already.
Okay. Now we're gonna go deep.
Okay.
I just took the pill. I feel it working.
Is it coming up?
Yeah, it's coming. Now, tell the viewers a little bit about who you are. Who is Robin Williams?
Well, I am an ethnomusicologist.
What is that for the viewers that never heard that word?
It's the study of world music and its function in various cultures. What does the music of the world really reflect? What does it really symbolize? You know, is it identity? Is it spirituality? What are the things that music really serves a purpose for in other cultures around the world?
We'll have you back to talk about that part.
Okay. All right.
So what else is it about you?
I have a master's in ethnomusicology, have an undergraduate in music from Indiana University, Bloomington, the best music school in the world. I'm a cellist. I'm a jazz vocalist. I've lived about 12 lives. Like I told you on the phone the other day, I actually was in New Orleans for 30 years and worked with Cash Money Click.
We'll be back after this commercial.
Baby slamming everybody, you know.
We'll be back after this commercial. Really?
Yeah, so I've had a very diverse, as a classically trained musician, I've had a very diverse background in music business, ethnomusicology. So music really is the precipice of where I stand.
How in the heck did you get connected with Cash?
I was the marketing director for a music distributor called Big Easy, based in New Orleans.
Okay.
And so they were using us as their distribution, but they were what we call a regional breakout because we were moving so much product we couldn't even keep up with it. So we were the ones
When you say regional breakout, does that mean like that in their geographical area they got too big for their. They got bigger than what you guys expected in a short amount of time.
That's exactly it. So every day you can imagine the big white car with the gold rims pulling up and unloading more product because we could not keep up with it. So we actually sat them down with the majors and said, hey, you guys need major distribution. And we kind of facilitated all that for them because we want to see them win.
Now, you know I got to ask this question. I'm
They never called me by my name.
What they call you?
They call me Tina Marie.
I was about ready to go there, but look, let me go deeper than this.
No, it was fun. Those were the glory days. I mean, seeing somebody really emerge into that kind of a thing, you know, and now we see, and they're going to be here in September, right?
Yeah, are they going to be on this show in September?
I don't know. They're going to be in Indianapolis in September. They're doing a tour right now.
I'm pretty sure they'll reach out to you. We'll be talking after the show.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
That's what we got that donkey's ass and mother's milk over there for. But how does a woman, and I don't mean this to sound sexist at all. We're talking about.
You don't want to go there.
We're talking about cultural stuff right now. To look at you, you look like a beautiful Caucasian woman. How do you get accepted? Like, how do people first react to you? Because I'm pretty sure you don't go in there and say, you know, I'm Native American, blah, 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 because you see with your eyes first, and then you start to try to decipher. But that's what I thought.
I mean, that's the problem with the world, don't you think?
Yeah.
Okay. So at least we've come to that conclusion, and we both agree that that's the essential problem with the world. They use their eyes, they're visual, and they don't really dig deep to understand the essence of a person or a situation or a culture.
So what happens when you walk in?
When I walk in, they assume that I'm a white Republican, you know, conservative.
Well, you know, where you're from.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
And I did run for political office, and people were confused. And they said, what are you? Are you Democrat, Republican? I said, I'm an aggressive centrist.
What the hell is that?
I said, go look it up. That's what I said.
We'll be back after this commercial.
Anyway, going back to this whole thing of perception.
Yeah.
That's really key because, like, for instance, I was in Atlanta last week, and I had a meeting with the mayor's office of the new unincorporated South Fulton, which is like the southern part of Atlanta. It's become its own city now, right? Mm-hmm. So I was there, and I walked in, and I'm talking about an exhibition that I have on the Tuskegee Airmen. And they said, well, we have a lot of Black history programs around here. Why are people going to be excited about this? And why are you? See, this is the thing that always gets to me. Why are you so interested in this? Why are you involved in this? I said, because I had the opportunity to be, number one, mentored by the best in Black history. But number two, I got to meet people and I learned their stories. And that's what inspired me to want to create this. So, for instance, in Indianapolis Airport right now, there's a big, beautiful mural of all the Indiana Tuskegee Airmen. I designed that, you know, and that's part of the initiative that's going around the country right now for Tuskegee Airmen, America's Freedom Flyers.
Now, let's go deeper with that. For the people that don't know, who exactly is the Tuskegee Airmen?
Well, the Tuskegee Airmen were the first Black pilots in the military, and their success, because they said you cannot do it. You don't have the coordination, the intellect, the ability to become great pilots. They were up against every odds. So they really tried very hard, and they had great leadership, and they became the best at what they did in World War II.
Now,
in fact, a guy from Indiana named Charles B. Hall was the first Black pilot to shoot down the Nazis in World War II.
Okay, so I'm going to go here.
Yeah.
We know about the Tuskegee Airmen, but you said something. They were the first Black men.
There were women too.
Were they the first Black American pilots? Because remember, you had people of color that was in France as well.
That's true. There were pilots in France. You know, Bessie Coleman had to go to France to get her pilot's license. Because they wouldn't accept her here. But that was a little...
I just want the people to know that...
previous to the Tuskegee Airmen.
Yeah.
There were also Tuskegee Airmen that came out of Haiti.
Right.
Dominican Republic and other places. They don't ever talk about them.
Yeah.
They don't ever talk about them. We're getting ready to bust that out on the next exhibit.
Okay. Why do you think I already know the answer because I used to be a history teacher. So this is your
Oh, I love that.
This is your platform. So my question is, I understand holding back information because knowledge is power. Why do you think it's been such a stigma for white culture? Let's call it what it is. White culture to suppress information about great achievements. When we talk about history and evolution of even America as we know it, a lot of cultures have been minimized to exposure. Why do you think that is?
Because knowledge is power. So the more you understand the world that you live in, the depth and the breadth of the history, and what everything really means in the larger picture and larger scheme of things, that's powerful. That's very powerful. So, of course, the dominant culture is going to try to suppress it. They want people to hate each other. That's what it is. It's all about hate and control, divide and conquer. So if you don't have the power, if you don't have the power of knowledge, then you don't know how to approach life or what the future might be able to hold.
Somebody who may be watching this or listening, they're going to listen with their eyes, and I'm going to try to come in from their viewpoint without hopefully stirring emotional stuff here.
Stir it up.
But
I'm ready.
If you walk in and somebody naturally, like you said, see with the eyes first, your late husband passed, what kind of things really amplified you while your husband was here to really dive deeper into exposing and bringing to light the things that have been misrepresented in this with people of all cultural backgrounds, so to speak? Because you're not just focusing on one, you're talking about really addressing culture.
See, what people don't understand about the civil rights movement, because my late husband, Maynard Eaton, 8-time Emmy Award-winning journalist, he was fantastic what he did. He left this earth as National Media Director for SCLC, which is Dr. King's legacy organization in Atlanta. And I worked with him very intimately on many projects. I mean, we worked with Stacey Abrams. We worked on political stuff. We worked on civil rights issues. And I tell you what, I was schooled. I learned a lot. I was around John Lewis. I was around Andy Young. I was around people like that. I think I sent you a picture, with Reverend Jackson. So I got to be mentored by the best. But what people don't really realize is that there were a lot of people that looked like me in the civil rights movement. There were a lot of young progressive whites that came out of schools like Berkeley, and they came to join the movement, And if people don't know the history, then they're not going to know that.
Right.
So, there have always been people that look like me that were very progressive in their ways of doing things and their approach to being allies. Before that word ally was a thing, there were people like me.
And I tell that to people. I say, you know what? Instead of assuming that every Caucasian person was bad, there was just as many that was on the forefront.
That's exactly it. We were down in the trenches.
Yeah, that you don't hear about. Let's talk about your theory and your husband's theory on the civil rights movement. Do you think it was a crippling factor for people, or more of a controlled movement, or a window opportunity to use the civil rights movement to open doors for women as well? Because remember, women were going through situations trying to get their rights. So it was kind of like a two-way battle. So when you and your husband, as a journalist, and my hat's off to him for providing information to people at that time, but when as you sit down and you grow with him, what were some of the challenges that he felt was going to be a crippling factor with people in the near future with the civil rights movement? And the only reason why I say that, because you got Martin Luther King, who preached equality, so to speak, and then you got another political figure, Malcolm X, then you got Huey Newton, you got all kind of different people, then you got the invention of the FBI.
Yeah, well, that's a whole sticky rabbit hole.
Yeah,
that we
yeah.
could go
So
down, but
was when you and your husband talked and he did his research, do you think that the civil rights was a enabler or a years down the line a crippling factor for cultures in general?
well, here's the thing that nobody ever talks about: the civil rights movement is a business.
I
Okay,
know that. I'm glad you said it because
all
most
right,
people won't say that.
yeah. Well, it's a business, and in Atlanta, Georgia, today, it's a business. I mean, people are going there; they're touring. The legacy,
Hmm.
there are tours. People are making money off of that. Um,
The world, what's in Atlanta? The world, the place with all the flags downtown. I went there one time.
with Centennial Park,
Yeah.
right? Centennial Park. So the civil rights movement represents a lot of things, but in Atlanta today, it's a business. Okay. Now we look at Black Lives Matter. We look at other movements that have come to the fore in the last 5 years, 6 years, right?
Hmm.
Um, there's been a huge shift in the perception of what is civil rights. What is this? What is a movement that addresses civil rights, right?
Right.
So I can tell you this, having been on the inside of that building and listening to conversations. Um, really, they were very disappointed with how young people were approaching it. And they said,
Meaning?
well, how can we try to bring them into the fore, of nonviolence and all these kinds of things? So, Dr. Bernard Lafayette, he just passed away not too long ago. He was the chairman of SCLC. And he actually went around the world teaching Kingian principles of nonviolence.
Hmm.
So he was trying to spread more to younger people to try to get them have a dialogue about what did it mean to protest, but protest in a different way. And so I think right now the civil rights movement and Black Lives Matter movements and social justice movements are kind of at a crossroads. Like, which way do we go? How do we really approach this?
What do you think the purpose for the civil rights movement really was? Because let's get real. This is my theory.
It was political, and
It was political in its agenda.
It was, but the real goal was economic power.
Right. So that's where I'm about to go with this. So now you got the South who came out of slavery, capitalized off of slavery, but didn't reinvest in slavery. So what I mean by this, the only people that got rich in the South during the Reconstruction of America and coming out of the Civil War and slavery and so forth was people that owned slaves. But white people didn't realize that till they said, "Wow, we fighting a war and we don't own shit."
Yeah, but
But
black people owned slaves too, where
Yeah.
I lived in Louisiana.
But they didn't put resources. The people who controlled the slaves didn't put resources back into the poor community to develop. As the North developed from not having that power with a boom in economic development. So if we look to today, this is my question with resources. We look today, the South still is suffering economically, even with a civil rights movement, even with affirmative action, even with any type of political enhancements, they still behind in education, in technology, and growth development.
And let's be really, really real about this. People like Rick Ross and T.I. and them, they're not really giving back to their communities.
Oh, I already knew that. I didn't want to say nothing about that.
I'll say it. I don't care. They're
But hold down. But is it?
Look,
I get
there's
generational
black
wealth.
There's black wealth in Atlanta, Georgia today.
There's plenty.
And plenty of it.
But who
is giving back to the community? Who is lifting up the next generation?
So you're talking about even Dr. Umar, who's supposed to have this school and money, and I get it, but
we don't know what the true
we don't know
outcomes will be until we really see them.
Right. Is it their responsibility? Okay, if I'm
Yes.
if I'm TI,
because you have a platform, so it is your responsibility to lift people up.
So what makes you think he's
music
not?
is one of the most powerful platforms on the planet. You know that. We can get back to that music discussion, right?
Right.
Music is a great vehicle for and a platform for
Really?
expressing anything.
If the music is expressing bitches, hoes, money, dope, slinging, killing,
well, that's not that's not it.
you know what I'm saying? Like
So what are you going to do with that? You know?
I think okay, this is where I'm going with this. And I like both T.I. and I like Rick Ross.
But then there's Killer Mike, and Killer Mike's trying to do a little bit more.
I love Killer Mike.
Yeah.
Love Killer Mike.
I got a great picture of my husband with him.
Love Killer Mike.
Yeah.
He came on my radar years ago, and I was like, this brother's in Atlanta?
Yeah, he's a really great person, honestly. I mean, he's one person in the Atlanta hip hop community that's really trying to uplift. I mean, they've started banks and initiatives for housing and all kinds of things. He's doing it. Yeah. I'm gonna give Killer Mike his due.
Okay, but let's go here. Let's go back to T.I. and the Rick Ross and Rick Ross and the Ludacris situation. Is it their responsibility to create or to carry on generational wealth? And if so, how much of that is their responsibility? Because I don't want to be black and then turn around and say, "Oh, well, you always got to give back." I can give back in all kind of other ways.
Again, how do we uplift the next generation to understand the world? Now, the truth, the good, bad, and the ugly, right?
Yeah,
the
truth you tell
is
the truth.
Essential, right?
Yeah.
The truth is essential. So, in my perspective, I look the way I do. I can walk into a boardroom. I can get some certain things done that other people really can't do that easily.
Yeah.
So guess what? Here's the real interesting thing. The ironic thing here is I can use my white privilege to advocate for what's right.
Okay, hold that thought for a minute, because I'm gonna go here with that.
And I've always done that, whether it was education or arts and culture or any of those avenues that I've walked down. I've always used that.
I just shared that information with some friends of mine. I hang around a lot of guys and we talk. And they'll say, "Hey, Dre, why don't you do this and do this and do this?" I said, "Let me show you reality."
Yeah.
This is reality.
This is reality too.
Yeah. The economic dollar is really controlled by Europeans, white Europeans. That's why we do need our own institutions to merge with other institutions to work together. I hate when people say we need black on this. We need to learn how to merge together.
And that's some of the pushback that I've gotten for the work that I do in arts and culture and history. Why are you telling this story? Why are you interpreting this story? See, the thing is, if I hadn't had those incredible mentors coming up as a very young person and a young scholar, I wouldn't know how to do it. I wouldn't know how to approach it. Mm-hmm. I had them. They took me under their wing. They were smart. Because they knew that I could use this
to get into the
get in the door.
Yeah.
To empower the whole thing.
Yeah.
The message.
And a lot of times, some people gonna hate me saying this. Sometimes our own people aren't even motivated enough to want to take that leap to evolution. Does that make sense?
Everybody has a choice. Life is all about choices.
Yeah.
So either you choose to
rise up or stay down.
Or stay down. I mean, it's the crab in the bucket mentality. We know that.
Yeah.
That happens all over the place. I mean, in every culture it happens, right? It particularly happens in the black community. And I've experienced it. I've seen it so many times. And that's really unfortunate because, again, you only are as good as what your weakest link. So if you're not raising everybody else up with you, whether it's knowledge, economic stability, or any of those things, then you're not gonna win.
Let's go here. Let's go here.
You didn't think we were gonna get to this, did you?
Oh, we're gonna do part 2.
I might have to have a cocktail before that.
Mother's milk or donkey's ass.
I got you. I'm ready.
So let's go here for a minute. You talked about something Native American. And I shared with you that particular name and asked you if you knew who he was. And that guy did a horrendous thing. He started to classify the word from Native American to black for, like you said, political agenda. And it really boggled me because it goes even further back past Bacon's Rebellion, where there was no such thing as color identity. You was classified by your tribe, where you came from, your region.
That's
If
true.
you was Norwegian, you was a Norwegian. If you was European, you was European. Africana, this is where the word white start to surface. This is where guys like I just mentioned, that guy decided to use and weaponize that to take a group of people that were black and start naming them Indian. That's going to make you dig deeper.
It's extremely complex, my friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go with me.
Because, I mean, I lived in New Orleans for 30 years, so people used to think I was Creole. Now, who?
Creole.
Creole, yeah.
Yeah.
They thought I was Creole. Now, they didn't know. I don't know why they thought I was Creole. There are people that look like me in Louisiana that are what they say, passant blanc. They pass for white.
Passant blanc.
That's a French
that's
term.
French.
Passant blanc.
Passant
pass
blanc.
for white.
Yeah, passant
Okay.
blanc.
So we see all of that, but the thing is, with the Black Indians, the ones that I write about in my book, Rhythm, Ritual, and Resistance, Africa is Alive, and the Black Indians of New Orleans, there's the plug.
Okay.
But I'm really talking about the history of enslaved Africans that were brought from Senegambia, from the Congo, from other points that came to Louisiana and were inculcated into native tribes. See, they were trying to escape slavery. So they would dress Indian to go up the bayou on a pirogue, a boat, and escape. There were some quilombos, or what we say in Brazil, quilombos are like maroon encampments and maroon societies that were hidden in the swamps.
In the bayou?
Yeah. And there were also, like the Natchez Indians, they took in 400 enslaved Africans into their tribe.
I think a lot of people don't also realize that a lot of slaves from the South they not only tried to migrate north, but they actually wanted to go to places where AKA indigenous Indians or Native Americans were at for refuge.
But think about this. You have a lot of commonalities there. You have the language of the drum. You've got herbal medicine.
Music.
Yeah, music. You have all these things that kind of bind those two cultures together. But here's the most important part. The masquerade culture, okay, emerged. You already had a Gungun masquerade, like in Nigeria, the ancestral masquerade.
Explain to the audience what a masquerade means.
It's a
tribal.
It's a tribal way for ancestors to come back through and deliver messages and knowledge and wisdom.
So they put mask on, handcrafted mask, some type of figure or deity, I guess.
Deities also there's specific types of masquerade in different parts of Africa. But this was in a way for enslaved Africans to continue to wear a masquerade, to express ancestral energy, as ancestral wisdom. So, of course, there were a lot of commonalities between those two cultures, and that's why it worked. And here was the interesting thing. With the Natchez, with 400 enslaved Africans, these were, there's like, we know the lay of the land, you guys are strong, we're going to fight these French people. We're going to take over some forts. We're going to show them who's what and who's who. So that's where, the history really lies, early 1700s.
How many revolutions took place in the 1700s? Matter of fact, the 1700, I'm glad you brought that up for the viewers to understand history. The 1700 also triggered Bacon's Rebellion, which was the first time that the word white started to be classified in this country. But you got to realize you had other countries and other areas, like you just said, that was fighting. How many wars was actually taking place in New Orleans with trying to get that economic and that social identity?
Yeah, but see, you had the Caribbean folks, you had the African folks, you had the Native American folks, you had the French, you had the Spanish, you had everybody kind of converging together in New Orleans, So there was a lot of uprisings. Governor Perrier had the Company of the Indies, which was in Senegal. So if you go to Senegal tomorrow, you're going to look at certain places in Senegal. It looks like the French Quarter. Same kind of architecture, everything. But there was just a lot of, this is what happened with Perrier. He actually enlisted the help of the Choctaws to fight back. He said, we can't fight them. We don't know how to fight them.
Right.
So he got the Choctaw and he said, I'll give you money. I'll give you a parcel of land if you help us fight these people. And so they actually, the ones that they captured, they put on a ship and sent them down to Haiti. So they were taken directly from Africa, went to Louisiana, captured, taken down to Haiti.
To fight.
And probably somewhere in the Dominican Republic where you just were, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's crazy.
It's an incredible history. It's very rich and very multifaceted and very complex, especially with Haitian landowners at the same time having their own enslaved people.
And you know what's so funny in the Dominican Republic? It's tons of Haitians, but the Dominicans really want to minimize the number of Haitians that integrate into the Dominican. And I'm thinking, you know, what you said makes a lot of sense. Like, this is my question here. I'm trying to articulate this the right way. What about your family? How do they intertwine with this New Orleans in the history?
Well, my family is not from New Orleans, okay? My father's side of the family was from England, but they were the only French nobility in England. They had to build the church inside the castle. In fact, the castle is still standing. It's over 1,000 years old. So that side of the family goes all the way back to Knights of the Templar and all this kind of stuff.
Are you pulling my leg?
I'm not. I'm quite serious. I'm distantly related to Princess Diana and the Spencers and all that kind of stuff. So we were all kind of there on my dad's side of the family. Okay. I did a lot of research on that because somebody told me in a spiritual moment, they said, you need to check out your dad's side of the family because there are a lot of answers to a lot of questions you have on that side. On my mama's side, it was more French. So I had French on both sides, but my mama's side was French, Indian, and English. So that's how they came together. And they've been in the Kokomo area, Howard County, for over 175 years. My mother's side of the family.
In Kokomo?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. They owned a big farm and had a huge house. And my great-grandfather, George Washington Smith, was the first to be educated at Indiana University. So there's been 6 generations of us that are IU graduates. Big legacy there.
Congratulations.
Right. But, you know, my dad was truly a Southerner. He was born in Georgia. But
what part of Georgia?
Valdosta.
I know exactly what it is. I'm from Albany.
Okay.
I know exactly where Valdosta.
Valdosta
Wildcats.
and a bunch of my relatives and ancestors are buried in Geneva, Georgia, which is right outside of Columbus.
Yeah. Wow, you got some serious.
Talbotson County.
You really got some ancestors.
But see, they came through Virginia because my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, Colonel Thomas Lygon, Lygon, who came from England, he came over with his cousin, Sir William Berkeley. Sir William Berkeley became the first governor of Virginia.
I know that.
And my grandfather, he and his wife owned 2,000 acres of land between the James River and the Appomattox River, right there.
What's been the most exciting part about your legacy?
I think history is such a key to everything. So, like I said, the good, bad, and the ugly, because there's always good, bad, and ugly. And everybody's personal history can read like a historical novel. It's fascinating. So when you really start digging deep and digging in to who you really are, it gives you some ideas of why you do the things that you do now. Or, you know, it may be the polar opposite of your background, you know. Colonel Thomas, his brother, Richard, was in the slave trade. I'm going to say that right now on media. He was part of the slave trade, but he was the first person to write a lot of journals about how wrong it was. Mm-hmm. He was involved in it because he didn't have any money.
Yeah.
He didn't know what to do.
Well, even the guy that wrote the, I think one of the songs, can't think of his name, he got in it for money. He needed money, but he realized that slavery was wrong.
Richard said, these are men and women of God. They are not chattel. They are not animals. They are men and women of God. They deserve everything. You know, like, so this is back in the 1500s. So if I go back and look at my ancestors' writings and I said, wow, look at what I'm doing now. Look at all the work that I'm doing. You know, I'm not doing this work to right or wrong, but clearly the huge irony of the thrust of my career and my life is to really tell stories that haven't been told, to uncover history that hasn't been illuminated. So that's
What's your take on the song? You like music.
huh,
What's your take on Amazing Grace? Because the guy who allegedly wrote that was into the slave trade. And then he realized that that was wrong. He saw the treatment, how everything was. I think he had befriended a slave, and he realized it was wrong and wound up writing that particular song. What's your take
well.
on?
What's interesting to me is the fact that the Black community has embraced it like an anthem,
Thank you.
right?
Yeah,
So that's the irony
yeah.
of that. Um, everybody's bill comes due someday. Okay,
How much do you owe?
I'm paying it back. Believe me. Whatever that bill is,
Yeah.
I'm paying and paying and paying, and it's fine. I'm okay with that. You know,
Okay.
because you put a lot of passion into the work because you realize how important it is, you know, and impactful it is. Um, but there's a whole bunch of ironies in the world, and understanding those ironies and knowing all the background behind those ironies is what makes life, you know, an multifaceted sort of rich tapestry, you know.
When did, and keep that mic closer to you so I can make
Okay.
sure we get your voice.
All right.
When did the shift really change for you? You know, you continuing the legacy of, higher education. You understand your purpose. You married a man of color. This two-part question: when did the light go off for you? And then, what are some special moments that you can reflect on with the journey with you and your husband as you both embarked into trying to bring life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness through equality for people of all nationalities? And I want people to understand that. I say all nationalities, not just black and white, because in America they have you believe just black and white. But the Constitution is really designed for everybody to an extent, with black people being 2%. But the ideal of what I'm saying is you and your husband both went on a crusade. What are some of those memories that you found most impactful? And more importantly, when did you get an awakening to say, this is my purpose, this is my calling?
This whole issue of race has been pervasive in my life for a long time. One of the legends of my family was my father, who was also an incredible journalist. He was at ABC News in New York, but he lived in Europe. He was in the Air Force. And then he set up all the radio and television stations in Europe for the Air Force. Then he got involved in some other stuff, and he learned to speak German fluently. He looked German, so he got away with a lot of stuff over there. Okay, he was behind the Iron Curtain and doing all kinds of stuff.
Is it top secret?
Stuff, yeah.
Okay.
He was doing stuff. But during this stuff time in his life, he met this lady, Josephine Baker, and they had an affair.
Why does this story 1957.
1957. I have the book, in fact, of the Rainbow Children that was signed to my father in 1957 from Josephine Baker. It's part of the family archive. Okay.
Okay.
Fast forward, I get married to my husband. He says, "Hey, Robin, I want you to write this article for the New York Times on the 50th anniversary of Loving versus the state of Virginia." Now, are you familiar with that story?
Tell me.
There was a white man and a black woman, and they fell in love. They got married. Mr. Loving, I can't remember his first name now, but anyway, you put me on the spot. Anyway, they ran. I mean, it was not legal to be married, have interracial marriage, but they took it to the Supreme Court and they won. Okay, so on the 50th anniversary of the Supreme Court case, they asked for submissions on interracial marriage, and so I wrote one and I got it. Out of 200 people who submitted, there were 5 stories, and mine was one of them.
Wow.
So I talked about the long history, starting with my father, of interracial relationships in my family. And that was a huge honor. So I think that was one of those pivotal moments. And interestingly enough, it came out a week after we got married in New Orleans with the Second Line Parade and all that kind of stuff, you know.
Now, the next question: when did your eyes wake up to go to where you're going now? You're really advocating for
That happened a long
Black
time ago.
awareness.
That happened.
I don't want to say Black awareness. I mean culture awareness. But there are certain things that are dear to you, like the Tuskegee Airmen and stuff.
Well, it's because I met one of the Tuskegee
Right.
Airmen back in 2005 when I was
Right.
a brand new director of Garfield Park Arts Center in Indianapolis,
right.
first city governed art center.
I just don't want people to think this is
Yeah.
a simple black
But
and white.
this goes prior to that when I was in college at IU Bloomington, because I had two incredible mentors, Dr. Portia Maltzby, who was the head of African American Studies at the time,
Mhm.
and Dr. David Baker, who was a great jazz musician and educator. Those two people took me under their wing in such a way, I mean, in a very deep way. And with the music of the history and all of the, implications of, the history of the music industry and all these kinds of things, I had to write a thesis as an undergrad, 75 pages long. My master's thesis was 140 pages long, and then it became a book.
What was your thesis about?
Which one?
Both.
The first one was on artist development in the 50s and 60s, and I talked about not just Black artists, but, all types of artists and how did they arrive at their success and their demise in some ways, and what were the things, that led to that. And then the second one, of course, is what we know now as my book, but it was titled something else as a thesis, and then I expanded it and I made it into a book.
Tell me about the book, the title of the book, and why the purpose of the book.
Well, because, Beyonce's had Black masking Indians in her videos, and they were just in the Super Bowl last year. And, everybody said, what is that beautiful thing that we're looking at? We don't know what that really means. So I said, well, we need to talk about the depth and the breadth of the history behind all of that. And what's interesting is the book came with the academic research, and the piece, the thesis part came out 10 years ago. It's the most downloaded thesis at Liberty University, 2,500 downloads, just the academic version of it, in 82 countries.
Why do you think that is?
Because people want to know. They want to understand what that really means. Black masking Indians, why? Why is this? And why are New Orleans guys, that are, tool makers or, football players or whoever's, a Black masking Indian, why did they choose to do it, and where did it come from for them? Mm-hmm. They've been trained throughout many generations of how to create these incredible suits. They spend a whole year beating and sewing these suits, and they have stories, and there's different styles of suits. And then when you link back those particular Black masking Indians to their lineage, you'll see Haitian influence. So you see the rah-rah flags with the sequins and the beads. That's one style that you'll see downtown in New Orleans with the Haitian progeny, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uptown, you're going to see more of a Nigerian look with all of the very intricate seed beads that they use to create these beautiful story shields and aprons and headpieces and things. So the way that they've created their masquerade is directly linked, and I was able to do that in the book, demonstrate how it's directly linked to their ancestral lineage.
My question is, I don't see Native Americans really advocating anything about their history. Why
They're
is
not
that?
going to, because they think it's ridiculous.
What do you mean? They think it's ridiculous?
They don't take it seriously. I've gotten phone calls saying, why are you doing this? Especially a person with Native background.
So you're saying they're comfortable with where they're at, and
they're comfortable with not understanding the linkage, not understanding the shared history and the connectors. See, my work in my life and my career has all been about making connections, whether it's spiritual connections, artistic connections, cultural connections, social justice connections. It's all about connecting things.
it's funny because we've had tons of Native Americans. I think we've had over 3,000 episodes, and we've had Native American descent people, and they go back to the reservations, and it's almost like, I hate to say this, they're content with being content. They're not they're not concerned about amplifying any type of concern or anything about their history.
That's not true. I'm not going to agree with that because now we have a
I'm
lot
just
of.
going by what
But
the
but
guests
look,
tell me.
well, then they're ill informed. I'm sorry to say, they are ill informed because there are plenty of Native American political forces out there now, who are trying to make a difference, whether they're in political office or they're in social justice organizations or initiatives.
Now, is this has to do? Are we talking about them advocating for their tribal rights, their land? Or are we talking about?
I mean, we're dealing
trying
with
to
that with the
embake
Miami
in?
Indians right now because a lot of them were expelled and sent out from my hometown area, right? And then the ones that remained, they've never had tribal recognition. Is that fair? No, it's not. So it's interesting. Governor Braun has actually been an advocate for them to get tribal recognition finally after over 100 years. And then one thing that we did to kind of spurn that on, the Arts Federation, I'm the Howard County representative for the arts. And we got a grant from the National Endowment of the Arts to do a social justice mural. And we chose to do it on the Miami Indians, right on the old ice house wall, which is now a big restaurant in downtown, right?
Mhm.
And it's right on the river where the original Miamis where they lived, that was
Yeah.
their encampment there. So we did a land acknowledgement and we did this incredible 60-foot tall, 75-foot wide, beautiful mural done by a guy named Detour. He's out of, where is he from? Colorado. Yeah, he's out of Colorado, Denver. So he's an incredible artist, and we were supposed to do Chief Kokomo, but the gentleman from the tribe couldn't make it that day, so one of the females came from the tribe, and we did a depiction of her. It's a portrait of her. It's huge, very colorful, very beautiful.
What do you think needs to happen? We hear black people feel like they should get reparations. You hear Native Americans probably want land and their tribal rights and stuff. You and your husband probably have sat around and talked. You talk to other people. Is there an end to this dysfunction or this disassemblement that we're going through with different cultures? Everybody's been destroyed to some extent, to some extent. What do you think is going to make it better? What are people really asking for? I think we see something. I think we still live in that history is a motherfucker because it carries it carries a lot of pain. And is there really a way to fix it? Is what I'm saying.
So I often remind myself when things are hard or challenging, I say diamonds are created under pressure. The bigger the pressure, the bigger the diamonds. So the end result's going to be something amazing. We just have to get there. And I think because we have a lot of pressure politically and socially and culturally right now, we have an opportunity to make an incredible outcome happen. But people have to be of like mind and like spirit to get together and really speak together and walk together. So that's what it is. I mean, it's nothing different than what Dr. King wanted, but we actually have to put it into action now. So I'm trying to do that with the work that I do.
Okay. My last question to you. We saw the White House get stormed for the first time ever in history. My question, we saw that guy get shot. Can't think of that guy's name. That was speaking out.
Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, I mean, like, damn. Here's somebody that
I don't know about that already. I mean, I still have my own thoughts about that.
But my question here is, what's happening to this country in your viewpoint?
I think that unfortunately we have leadership that seeks to further polarize our country and create the divide and conquer. I mean, it's very obvious to most of us. To some people, it's not because they're in it. They don't see the forest for the trees.
Mm-hmm.
But he seeks to polarize and divide and conquer and make people hate one another. even more than ever before. So I think we're in a very pivotal time. We had that opportunity. That pressure is great. So where's the diamond going to come from? We have to create that diamond.
How do we forge? Let me think of how to say this the right way. During the 60s, like we said, we had Malcolm X, Huey Newton, Marcus Garvey. We had tons of activists.
Yes.
Since the extermination of these political and activist figures, as well as white, I don't know a lot of the white figures because they were in the trenches. There hasn't been really too many. There hasn't been a minority polarized figure.
Well, Jesse tried to do some things.
But Jesse came. I'm not trying to knock.
Keep hope alive. That's great.
Yeah,
we got to give him that.
I was looking for, if this is about empowerment, I'm just go back to what you said about the T.I. and the Rick Ross thing about legacy and so forth. If I'm a man and I saw my best friend get killed in front of me, and I see a little bit of change, but not significant amount of change. Let's get real. They were still lynching in the 70s and the 80s.
They're still lynching now.
And they're still lynching. So it's just not as polarized as much.
They tried to lynch this man. He's the one who put me on the path of Tuskegee Airmen. We talk about Pompey Hawkins. He lived in Indianapolis. He ended up in Indianapolis. That's how I met him. He was in his 90s. He was a trip. Okay, when we talk about somebody who had strength and endurance and always stood up for what was right, he was really an activist. 1943, he would get 500 men in their A uniforms, dressed to the nines, walking into the Post Theater in Biloxi, Mississippi, at Keesler Air Force Base, to protest the fact that they still had Jim Crow laws on the base and they were not supposed to. He was a photographer. He took pictures of all the signs, whites only. That wasn't supposed to happen on the base. They were going to lynch him. He kept sending stuff to the inspector, the Inspector General of the Army. Finally, the day they were going to lynch him, they were getting ready to catch him, bring him into the commander's office, and the inspector showed up just at that moment and basically saved him. But he didn't back down from anything. When I look at somebody like that, I say, I got to tell that story. I got to tell this story. Okay? Because he was fearless.
Yeah.
He was willing to give his life to make a point. And I think that's what is required. Okay? Tomorrow, if I'm no longer here anymore, I know I did good work. I know I told these stories. I know I brought these things to the forefront. But and it's not in vain.
What's you're a musician, and I always, I hate to say this, your culture is going bad when we have to rely on 21-year-old stars, basketball athletes, to now talk to us about political agendas. I mean, like literally, why didn't these leaders create leaders? I don't need Beyonce to tell me to go out and vote. I don't need LeBron James because he dribbles a basketball and makes $200 million to give me his political viewpoint when you don't even know political viewpoints.
That was a lot of the conversation at the SCLC. Why are you not training the next generation to rise up and do the work?
Right. But it goes back to my question when we first started. Is it their responsibility? And if not, whose responsibility is it?
Well, if you are going to be if you're going to represent the civil rights movement, I don't care who you are, then you better be ready to pass on the torch, and not just pass it on symbolically, but train people. Train people about nonviolence. Train people about what it is to negotiate. Train people to be great politicians and great leaders in their communities.
Is nonviolence really the means that beat all. I mean, look how many people
I'm
died.
not saying it's the only way.
Yeah, look how many people died at the hands of nonviolence, and the people that did the violence never been brought to trial.
And look at Hosea Williams. He was the one who was really marching across that bridge that day. But John Lewis is the one who gets all the spotlight because they beat him in the head. Hosea was the one who was really putting all the fire behind it.
Yeah.
You know, people like Bernard Lafayette, he was the one who orchestrated the Selma. You know, these unsung heroes. See, those are the stories I'm interested in, is the unsung heroes.
Right.
Not the ones that we all know about. You know, because in any milieu, whether it's civil rights or music or you know, history, even the Tuskegee Airmen, we hear about the same 10 guys over and over again. What about the women? What about the men that were behind the scenes doing, you know, making those planes beautiful and ready to go into battle? We don't talk about them.
Well, let's talk about, before we wrap up, something even deeper. Let's talk about the fact that our educators who teach history are not teaching history. They're not digging deep enough.
But they're being imprisoned by politics. That, you know, they can't.
I get it. You got a criteria we have to do every semester. But I can control that criteria. I can give it to the principal and say, look, this is what I'm going to teach.
Will you keep your job?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, good.
But
I'm happy to hear it.
But I'm going to put it in a, I think you can teach the truth without making the truth weaponized, if that makes any sense.
It's a very fine line, my friend.
Yeah.
You got to be very artful and skillful to teach in a way to get that truth out there without making sure that, you know.
It can be done.
Yeah, you can do it. And I mean, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, but again, you and I look different from each other. So I get away with a little bit more maybe.
Well, yeah.
They're going to target you. But see, now they started to target me because they understand that my role is what it is.
Well,
that I've taken on the mantle.
Yeah. They probably because you opened up too many doors. It's cool to let a few in.
It's okay.
But you're trying to open up a
Like I
floodgate.
said, tomorrow if I'm gone, I'm gone. But I know I did what I did. And I know I did good things. I was able to facilitate a lot that hadn't been facilitated before.
You know what, baby girl? I appreciate you taking time to stop in and
thank you for having me.
Show. Definitely got to come back and have your first. I was like, okay, you just had so much stuff. I'm like, where am I gonna go with this show?
You sounded like you're perplexed. I said, uh-oh.
Yeah, I was like, okay. But then it was funny because, like I said, that name popped up just out of nowhere. The universe is crazy. That name popped up, and I was like, does he know who this guy is? And then I just started reading the horrific things that he did, and I said, this sounds almost like reverse Bacon Rebellion. He's basically classifying Native Americans and basically trying to wipe out all the other. That was what he was doing, like the Miami Indians and stuff. He wanted to put them in one category and one category only and minimize. And he was able to get away with it through political, the political roadmaps by designing and writing into laws and put them in place.
Okay, you know about the HBCUs like Hampton University where my husband taught. He was a Hampton grad, right?
Yeah.
I went back there with him when he returned the year before he passed away, 2023, to be endowed professor of journalism at Hampton University. Big time deal. You know, it was great for him to go back. But I went to the museum, and they have a whole collection of talking about the Native American that they put into the school. You know, way back when Hampton first started, they put Native American students in with the black students, but it became a problem. Why? Because they started really connecting in more ways than one, if you understand what I'm saying. So they said, well, this is an issue.
Yeah.
But they had a lot of artifacts in their collection from those Native American students. But at the time, you know, they were trying to assimilate these young people through education and social situations and inculcate them into society, you know, our society. So, but that was happening at HBCU.
Yeah.
You know, so that, again, complex layers of things to, you know, implications and things to talk about and deal with. It's
funny you said that because I had a scholarship to Albany State, and it was called Albany State College. It was small as all outdoors. Go back 10, 20 years later, there's white people on the campus.
Mm-hmm.
There's all kind of nationalities, and I say, damn, this wasn't like this when I was here. Now it's a university.
There was a kid that I knew that was a guitar maker, and he made a bass for us, for my husband, and he goes, oh, yeah, I just got a minority scholarship. White guy. I got a minority scholarship to Grambling. I said, what?
Yeah, how did he do that?
I don't know. Somehow he hooked that up.
We won't mention his name.
No, we won't. I can't remember his name, but I mean, I just thought that was okay. Well, I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to wrap my head around that, minority scholarship thing.
You know what, baby girl? Thank you so much for taking time to come on the show. Before we wrap up, how can the viewers reach out to you, get a copy of your book, and tell them the name of the book again?
Okay, Rhythm, Ritual, and Resistance. Africa is Alive in the Black Indians of New Orleans. And you can hit me up on www.nolaworld.org. NOLA, like New Orleans, Louisiana. nolaworld.org.
Sounds like a winner. Make sure you guys subscribe, like, share, click that button. Like I've always said, all it takes is one click. Look, one click to make a difference in your life or change somebody else's life. This has been another exciting episode of the Andre.
Thank you so much. God bless.
The Beast Creighton Show.